Welcome back to another Coffee and a Chat. Did you miss me yesterday? Did you even notice I wasn't there? I know two people noticed I wasn't there and said something to me. That's what I want to talk about today. That is the topic of today's video. See, when I started this YouTube channel, it was because God told me to. He literally got me out of bed and told me to go make the first video, and then God showed me how to upload it because, yeah, those of you who've been around a while know that I am not technologically gifted. No, not even comfortable with it. But and God has surrounded me by some pretty wonderful people to help me figure out how to navigate through some of this and to get the equipment that I need. And yes, so I'm learning. This old dog's learning some new tricks, and we're making progress. But this channel was never about me. It's always been about Jesus and Him using the stories and the experiences and life lessons that I've gone through in order to share with you for encouragement or even to help you navigate in your own life. Okay, you can learn from my mistakes. And so that's what it's always been about. So I don't want to ever just put up a video for the sake of putting up a video. First of all, I don't even know if I'm clever enough or creative enough or quick enough. That's a lot of it to be able to do something like that. But yesterday, this is the second time this has happened to me. God didn't give me a video for yesterday. And I just was like, okay, I'm going to be okay with that. Because, at any time, if you change your mind and you got something for me, Lord, I'll go record it. The day did not go the way I expected. We had some things happen that changed our plans, and we ended up having to, but God had cleared our calendars. I had some places I had to go in the morning, and I had two places I had to go and some things I needed to do. I got where I needed to go, did what I needed to do, got home, got situated, was getting ready for my day. Marvin was supposed to be going with a friend of ours to do to work on some stuff, and then that ended up that he was really sick, the other guy, not Marvin. And so that changed Marvin's day. So then we're, shifting gears of, well, Marvin started, well, he could do this and this and this. And then we got a phone call that changed everything, and the whole course of the day changed. So we ended up being away from home. We were going through a process that could have been very complicated and overwhelming for us. But I had asked the Lord earlier in the day when I'd had my quiet time with Him to give me, Marvin and I, wisdom as we navigated through the day, whatever might come. And so I'm glad I had, that the Lord had laid on my heart to ask Him for that, because He did. And things that could have been very complicated caused us to have to make several trips and cost us more money. And yeah, it all just worked out. And the only extra money I had to pay was $20. Yep, that was doable. I saved over $200. I had to pay $20. And I'm like, okay, we're good. So, and that was all God. But it even was going into today that it was going to complicate things for today and possibly the day after. And the Lord just showed us what to do. The woman that was like going, well, we can't do this and we can't do that. And it was as simple as, well, are you sure that wouldn't work? Because the Lord had given us wisdom, but this and this and this, doesn't that take care of that? And she's like going, well, let me see. And what do you know? This is your lucky day. And we're like, yeah, luck has nothing to do with it. So here you go. And then this, and but then we're going to have to, And then Marvin's like, but what about, and then she's like, well, I don't know. Let me try. Oh yes, computer's going to let me do it. Okay. You don't have to do that either. It was awesome. So, but it took a long time. There was a lot of just waiting, for your number to be called type thing. But in the time that we were waiting, that wasn't hard. I mean, I was prepared going, oh my word, this is going to, I don't think I can sit still this long, because this is going to be, there are so many people here. This is going to be a long wait. And it was well over an hour. But the Lord just happened to have a young man that Marvin knew there, and uh, sitting next to us that Marvin hadn't seen in a long time, and they ended up having this conversation that I believe was God ordained. That's a lot of why we were in that building at that time, why it happened. Everything happened yesterday, not today, not tomorrow, but it all happened yesterday at that time, because that's how intentional God is. Remember, we talked about how God is very intentional in the things he does, that it's not a coincidence that you ran into that person, but God is intentional. So Marvin ministered, is what I'll say. He ministered for a good hour. And then as soon as that was done, the numbers just started rolling. Like people had given up or whatever, and they just click, click, click through, and there was our number. And then we went up there to the counter, and then, there was all these potential setbacks and extra trips and more money and God just took care of all of it. So even today, there was a concern about us having to make some extra trips because we've got a vehicle that is all fixed and ready to come home. Yay! That has been down for a long, long time. And so now, and that vehicle will allow Marvin, I believe, to get back fully to work. I don't think there's anything that he can't do. Well, there might be a couple things he still can't do because it's not the pickup yet. But almost anything he needs to do, for his business, he can do with this vehicle because it's our backup, and we haven't had our backup for a long time. And so when the main vehicle went down, and then even our little runaround car went down. For a week there, we had no transportation, and that was a frustrating eye opener. But we've got 1.5 vehicles done, because the little car, we tried to get it running first, and everything didn't. It still had one little holdback, but that will be all taken care of tomorrow. And then 2 of the 3 are good to go. And then it's just, because the third one, we're pretty sure the Lord's told us to replace it, and that it's done. But he hasn't given us the replacement yet. So we're praying for that still. But God has perfect timing. He has a purpose in everything. And yesterday was not doing something just to be doing it, but really letting God guide our footsteps. It was not panicking, not worrying. It was trusting him to meet our needs, and he did not disappoint. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, is sometimes we do things just for the sake of doing it, maybe because other people think we should or whatever, and we're not really sure that that's what we should be doing. Like I could have just done a video, come up with just something for yesterday. I don't know what, but I could have, just because there were people that were like, where's your video? But God hadn't given me anything. And the purpose of these videos is to share what God lays on my heart, because they're not about me, they're about you. See, yes, it impacts me, and I learn from these things, but I believe when you're in a position like this, that you go through things in life so that God can use them to touch that person out there that you're talking to. So sometimes you have to go through something for somebody else, even though you still, glean something good off of it. The basic purpose was for someone else. And I really felt that strongly yesterday. The whole thing, from no video to change of plans to complicated things being made simple, expensive things being brought down to $20. Yeah, I could handle that one. And a lot of things going on. But even as it was happening, I felt this is happening not because of me or about me, but this is happening for someone else. And then when the guy was sitting there and Marvin to talk to him, I thought, well, maybe that's it. And that was a part of it. But there's more, see, because it was about you yesterday. And so I'm telling you that when you've committed something to the Lord, and that you're going to do things according to his leading, then do things according to his leading. Wait on him. Don't just do something for the sake of doing it. Don't just do a filler. I remember learning about fillers with, the school newspaper, that sometimes you got a little space in that news, back in the old days when they used to do it like that. Now everything's completely different. But back in the old days when they used to do the articles and all, and they'd lay it out, well, sometimes they'd have a little empty space. And they couldn't have an empty space. So they would have all these other little things, maybe a little quote of the day, or another little story that wasn't super big, but it would fill a small space. And then they would take those things, and those were their fillers. And they would find the one that fit in that space, and that's what would go in there, and then they would print out their paper. When you're living your life for Jesus and you're wanting to be led of him, you don't need fillers. You just need to be led by him. You need to listen to him and obey him, because there are some times when he will leave what appears to be a little blank spot, or a little waiting period, or a dry spell. Some people, I'm in the desert right now. I think of all the things we go through, but there's a purpose in that little empty spot that's sitting there right now. Sometimes it's because you're supposed to be taking a nap in that little empty spot. Sometimes it's because you're supposed to just decompress. Sometimes it's because you just need to wait on God. A lot of times for me, it's because I need to wait on him. And that is not always an easy thing to do. I don't know that I sit still really good in life. Now, you can set me in a chair and I'll sit there and be content to just sit in that chair or whatever. But, in life, doing life, when it's like, okay, you don't need to be doing anything in this moment. Just, I need to be doing something. It's hard for me not to be being productive. And the older I get, the worse it gets. And I think it's because I am like, okay, there's only so much time left. You hit a certain age when you start realizing that the days behind you are probably a lot more abundant than the days still ahead of you. And when you get to a point where you're pretty sure you've crossed that halfway threshold, which I did a long time ago, then that can start making like, okay, I was going to do 3 things today. I need to do 6. Because I don't have as many days left as I once did. That time is shorter and there's still so much to do. But see, even in all of that, we need to rely on the Lord. What do you want me to do today? And Marvin, I told him, he blesses me so much. Sometimes I feel like, is life real, or am I just having a real vivid dream? Because God has fulfilled so many desires of my heart in this marriage. That, he comes in and he goes, come on, you and I, we need to go to, your little quiet place. Because he's got a chair pulled up in my prayer closet now. And which is fine. I love it. So we got back into the corner there and he wanted to talk about some things that the Lord had laid on his heart, and some things that he feels are important for our family. And then we prayed together. Oh man, I can't even tell you how much that means to me, how important it is, that it is like a dream come true. And I know a lot of people probably think that's just crazy, that would be my dream come true. But it is, to have a spouse who loves God like I love God, who makes God the priority, who seeks God's will for us, not trying to just do their own thing, because any of us can do that. And that's the easy thing to do. What do I want to do? What do I want out of life? But to have a spouse and be in agreement with them, that we can sit down and go, okay, but what does God want us to do? What's his plan? Right down to, are we supposed to buy another truck, or are we supposed to fix the one we've got? And just, are we looking at our own desires, or are we really hearing from God? It's important to us. We want to make sure that we're listening to the Lord. And so to have my husband come in and say, we need to pray about something here. And there's something that I've been living without for quite a while. And it was just a convenience to have this particular piece of equipment. it did, I could put things in it, turn it on, walk away, and the machine would do the work for me. You got it? It's a dishwasher, in case you hadn't figured it out. And, and that's no big deal. I've spent the majority of my life not having a dishwasher. But there are some days, like yesterday, when things get away from us and the day comes to an end and I'm so tired and there's a lot of dishes piled up. And it would be nice to be able to just put them in the dishwasher, turn it on, let it do the job, and I'll unload it when I get up in the morning. But that is something that I have not put at the top of a priority list. But here's my husband. I don't want my wife to have that extra load of responsibility. I don't want. See, I had when the girls were here. They're great, they clean, they do dishes, they cook. Yeah, they ask me, "Is there anything I can get you?" And it was, I'd always go, "Ask me again." No, there isn't. I'm really fine, but thank you for asking. Simple pleasures in life. And he watched, when they stepped in and they were doing stuff. And it just kind of gave me a little break. And he's like, "No, I want to." So that was one of his things he wanted to talk to me about this morning. I want to move the dishwasher up on the priority list of, we either need to fix this one or get a different one. I'm not sure which is going to be the better choice. So anyway, I feel like there's so many other things that should be ahead of that. But I submit to my husband because I know that he loves me. See, God loves me and God takes care of me. And I often am like, Lord, I told you when I went to a healing crusade and I had cancer and all the cures, which made me horribly sick, but I was not responding well. And so we had to quit some of the treatment. And it was kind of we don't know what's going to happen now. I was... how old was I? In my 30s, I think, at that point. I'd been through cancer several times before that, same stuff. But anyway, I was feeling a little desperate, and I bought myself a plane ticket to go to a healing crusade. And then, I had family and other family members that also bought tickets and went with me. So there was quite a little caravan of us there. But when I saw the needs of others, I found myself saying, "Lord, whatever healing you have for me, give it to them. They need it more." It really moved on me, and it was like it just didn't matter anymore. And I did not get healed at the healing crusade, but I did get healed at home later in the quiet of my house, just me and the Lord. And he touched me, and that was the end of, because I used to get cancer like other people get colds. That was the end of it. He took care of it. So, that's just kind of who I am. And it's not necessarily even a good thing because, some people go, "Oh, because you value other people so much." Yeah, that would be good. But a lot of times it's been because I didn't value myself at all. And I never, I never, you should never say never and never say always. But most of the majority of my life, of my lifetime that I've lived, I have struggled with self-contempt. And I didn't want God to, if I saw somebody else, I didn't want him to like he's got a limit. He's got no limit. That's what I tell everybody else. But, I don't want you to do that for me because they're more valuable and they need it more. And so, yes, it was valuing another person, and that is good. But I also had the struggle of not having any value for myself. And there is a difference between being humble and gracious and not even putting value on your own self. Putting value on yourself does not have to be egotistical. It does not have to be arrogant, but there is value. So if you struggle with self-contempt, let me tell you this. There's value to your life, or God never would have created you. And the reason we usually have self-contempt is because other people have been abusive of us and left us feeling that we're just a dirty, rotten rag. We're just something to put in the trash. We're a throwaway. We have no value. And I want you to know right now, today, what God showed me in my life, I want him, if he hasn't showed you yet, then I pray that today's the day he shows you, you have value. You matter. And it's not about everybody else being okay and you being the expendable one, you being the sacrifice, you being the throwaway. God never intended for you to be a throwaway, because you are not his throwaway. You are precious. You are of value to him. He created you on purpose with a purpose. You matter to God. And I am so sorry for everything you've gone through and every person that has spoke vile things out of their mouth to lead you to believe otherwise. Okay? So there's that one for you, and a reminder to me, because I still struggle with it at times. But having a spouse who not only values me, like saying, I want to put this thing that I need, I want to put it down on the list and bring something to make your life better up above it. Because he values me, because he loves me, he appreciates me, he cherishes me. And that is just a drop in the bucket of how much God values me, loves me, treasures me. Okay? So I'm still learning. I still struggle at times. And I don't know that that won't be a occasional struggle for the rest of my life, because when somebody is abusive of another human being, especially a child, the damage and the scars that are left are enormous. Back when I took psychology classes, one of the things they talked to us about is from birth to the age of 5, like 98% of all your belief systems were developed then. Your value systems, all of that. So how you were treated from birth to 5 has a huge impact on how you feel about yourself right now. And those things that happened between birth and the age of 5 are very, very difficult to undo. Other things, not so much, after that. But in that age range, when everything is developing, I mean, you think about, a baby learns to walk, to crawl, then walk. They learn how to talk. They learn how to voice their opinions and have feelings. They learn right from wrong. I mean, from birth to 5, you probably have more information downloading into a human being from birth to 5 than you do the rest of their lives, because all the basic things, all of them, are happening in that time period. And just a little. So if any of the stuff is true that they figured out with psychology, not all of it's true, I'll tell you that right now. But there's a lot of things that aren't true, that are true, and they follow biblical principles, even though most people involved in psychology would be horrified to think there was anything that might be biblically supported, because so many people in the field of psychology, it's a science. And God's not always that welcomed in those kinds of fields. And I have known a lot of people, I was a Christian counselor, and it was like, oh, okay, whatever. You're not, that's not real. But I had a lot of the same training that they did and all, but I didn't follow the humanism, and I followed the Bible, because that's what I know to be true. So anyway, today's lesson, you have value. Today's lesson, your ministry happens wherever your feet are at. For Marvin, it was in a public building while he was sitting waiting for his number to be called, talking to somebody that the Lord had placed there for him to talk to. And my ministry during that time was to sit and pray over my husband while he was ministering to this young man. Having our eyes more open to the things of God. And then the other thing is the frustration. I cannot really adequately tell you how frustrating yesterday was for Marvin and I in the beginning. of, after that phone call came, of all the things that needed to take place really quickly, and not knowing how to navigate our way through, and just going on, well, they say this and this and this. And then when we were like, okay, wait, but what does God say? And God had wisdom that the world did not have yesterday, and it changed everything. So when we're up and up in life, we start hitting those points that feel overwhelming and confusing. That's the other thing. The other lesson is to just slow down and talk to God. Acknowledge Him. Let Him guide your path. Let Him tell you the way to go, because He gave us the right questions to ask, the right thing. When we were waiting for our number to be called after this guy left, I'm like going, because numbers started moving really fast all of a sudden, because we didn't need to sit there anymore. I'm like, okay, Lord, we're going to be going up to a window. Give us favor. Send us to the right window, because there's a lot to choose from here. And I don't know who's going to help us. Now, that woman over there at window number 3, I think that's where I'd like to go. But if you want to send us to window 6 or 10 or whatever, well, He sent us to window 6. And that woman seemed, as we were watching her, like she was a lot more harsh with people. That wasn't really the window I wanted to go to, but it was the right window for us to go to. Because when we sat and asked the right questions and she checked, well, what do you know? She just thought we were these really lucky people. Like, she couldn't believe everything was moving in our favor. And it's like, I go, yeah, we're not lucky. We're blessed, but we're not lucky. And she was just kind of, and kept on going about, what she was doing. But let God guide you. Okay, so value yourself. Look, instead of always thinking ministry, because so often I told Marvin, we think it's, you got to be up in front of a crowd of people, have a YouTube channel, something like that. But have your mind open that your ministry may be helping a little old lady at the grocery store today get her groceries in her cart, and who's frustrated, who can't see the prices, maybe being her eyes for her. You just never know how God wants to use you, but be open that it may not look like you think ministry looks like, but start broadening what you see to understand that ministry can be happening every minute of every day. So, and then when things get overwhelming and complicated, take a breath and say, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do? Because for us, it happened. And then the big overall, don't just do something for the sake of doing it. Don't just do it to make somebody else happy, but make sure that what you're doing is what God has told you to do. All right. I hope this all makes sense. I hope it all came together, because I don't know. But I'm trusting that the Lord has the right thing that you need to hear today, and that it has an impact on your life, because that's what matters. All right. I love you guys, and I've got some catching up to do today, but I know God's going to help me to do it. And at least I think that's what I'm going to do today. We'll see. He may have a change of plans. All right. I love you guys. And Lord willing, I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.